What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today we're going to be continuing our three-part series of the MLB Offseason recap for the 2021 season. Now on Friday we did post the East, both AL and NL. And now today we're going to put out the Central. So of course we're going to start out with the AL Central. Next will be the NL Central. And we're going to start off here with the Chicago White Sox. So the White Sox had a relatively quiet offseason. So they did acquire relief pitcher Liam Hendriks, outfielder Adam Eaton, and they traded for starting pitcher Lance Lynn. Now they lost starting pitcher Dane Dunning, who they traded for Lance Lynn, catcher James McCann, relief pitcher Alex Colomé, and we're unsure about DH Edwin Encarnacion. Now he's still a pending free agent. We will see. Other than that, Lance Lynn is more of a proven talent than Dane Dunning. Dunning, of course, has upside. He looked well. He looked pretty good during his debut last year. We'll have to see how things go. Lynn, jury's out on him. I feel like they gave up too much for Lance Lynn. Hendriks, one of the better closers in the league. That's a good signing right there. The rest of it's just a bunch of depth. Losing McCann's going to be a little bit of a rough hit, but, there's a reason they let him walk. Next, we have the Cleveland MLB team. And the Cleveland MLB team had another quiet offseason. So they added outfielder Eddie Rosario, and then they re-signed second baseman Cesar Hernandez. They also traded for shortstop Emed Rosario and infielder Andres Jimenez. Now, to get those two, they gave up shortstop Francisco Lindor and starting pitcher Carlos Carrasco. They also lost relief pitcher Brad Hand and first baseman Carlos Santana to free agency. So, of course, the loss of Lindor signals that this team is really going into rebuild. Same with Carrasco. Losing those two says this team's done. This team's going into a rebuild. They still have Jose Ramirez. They still have Shane Bieber. But two players does not win a championship, so they're definitely rebuilding. They're hoping that they can play well. And those two guys are both young enough that they can be a part of the future. Of course, Lindor's on an expiring contract. I mentioned that when we discussed the Mets. So we'll see. As for the rest of it, Rosario, they got him for basically nothing, so it makes sense to take a shot in the dark. If he pans out, you can trade him for a prospect or two. Next, we have the Detroit Tigers. And Detroit did what they've done. So they went out and they signed a bunch of, older veterans, hoping that they can possibly flip them for a prospect. When they added outfielder Robbie Grossman, outfielder Nomar Mazara, catcher Wilson Ramos, starting pitcher Julio Teheran, who's actually on a minor league deal, and second baseman Jonathan Swope. And they did lose first baseman CJ Cron. Losing Cron hurts. He's a very good player, underrated. But now they want Miguel Cabrera to play in the field periodically, so it makes sense. But the rest of these guys, it's kind of get the guys on the big league roster, hopefully compete for a little bit, and give the minor leaguers some hope, and then flip these guys for prospects. Scope's a solid second baseman, but he's not a guy I'm writing home about. Excited to have on my team. Ramos is 33, 34. In his prime, he was a really good catcher, but now he's not as good. Still, worth a shot for Detroit. Catchers are few and far between. Next, we have the Kansas City Royals. And the Royals had a really quiet offseason hold one move. So they really didn't sign anyone to the major leagues. They did sign relief pitcher Wade Davis and infielder Hanser Alberto to minor league deals. Now their big move was trading for outfielder Andrew Benintendi. In exchange for Benintendi, they did trade away outfielder Franchy Cordero. They also lost pitcher Ian Kennedy to free agency, and we're unsure about third baseman Maikel Franco, if he's going to leave the team, what he's doing. He's a pending free agent. So Cordero, very powerful bat, one of the best power hitters in the league. The problem is he doesn't make enough contact. He's about a 215, 220 hitter right now, but when he makes contact, it's hard contact. He's not hitting homers, but he's making hard contact. If Boston can flip this guy and make him hit hard contact, get those hot, hard hit singles to the air, this guy can be a threat. Really Benintendi, though, in Kansas City, he needed a change of scenery. He needed to get out of Boston. It's good for him to leave Boston, go to a team like Kansas City. We're going to see what Kansas City does, if they can even afford to keep him when he hits free agency. But it's a good buy low move for Kansas City. Cordero probably needed out of Kansas City, so getting Benintendi for him would have been unheard of a couple years back. Now, it's about an even flop, It's probably slightly favors Kansas City, and then getting those two guys on minor league deals, Davis and Adalberto, you can't go wrong. Maybe they'll pan out and they'll help you today. If not, life goes on. Lastly, for the AL Central, we have the Minnesota Twins, and they had another relatively quiet offseason. They did re-sign DH Nelson Cruz, and then they signed a trio of guys in relief pitcher Alex Colomé, starting pitcher Jay Happ, and shortstop Andrelton Simmons. Now, they did lose utility man Marwin Gonzalez, pitcher Rich Hill, outfielder Eddie Rosario, and we're unsure about starting pitcher Jake Odorizzi. Odorizzi's arguably the best named free agent available at this point in time, and Odorizzi's got a few suitors lined up. None of them are Minnesota. It's basically down to my understanding, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Angels, and the Mets are kind of just in it because I don't think they're going to sign him. I think they're probably just trying to drive the price up for the Phillies. But I think he's probably going to go to the Angels, so he's probably leaving the Twins. As for the rest of them, Marwin Gonzalez, great utility bat off the bench. He's going to be missed for Minnesota. Hill and Rosario, Rosario fell out of favor early on. They have Killer Ruff coming up through the system, so they're not too worried about him leaving. Hill didn't do much. Keeping Nelson Cruz is, Nelson Cruz is just going to keep signing one-year deals until he can't play anymore. So it's nice to see Nelson Cruz return to Minnesota for another year. Maybe get a chance to run for a title. We'll see. And Andrelton Simmons is a potential Hall of Famer. The stats guys love him. Elite defenseman. We'll have to see. Minnesota got lucky when they got him. A lot of people wanted Andrelton Simmons. He doesn't hit that well, but he is a defensive whiz. Colomé, solid player. Happ's Happ. How do I rank this division? There's a clear top two. Minnesota and Chicago. Now, you guys have heard me praise Chicago time and time again, and I'm going to do it. I think Chicago will win this division. We'll have to see. It's going to be very close between Chicago and Minnesota. I think Chicago just has enough, and that's because I think power, as good as power is Minnesota, it's streaky. I prefer the contact of Chicago. So Chicago 1, Minnesota 2, and then you have a really tough one. I say Kansas City gets the 3. Pretty simply, they're pretty much the same team that they were last year. Hopefully they get more out of what they had, and hopefully if you're them, Adalberto Mondesi gets better, improves at the end of last season, is the Adalberto Mondesi that we're going to see. Then I think Detroit's going to jump into the 4th spot over the Cleveland team. Cleveland's not what they were a few years back. Cleveland's done. So again, I have Chicago winning, Minnesota, Kansas City, Detroit, Cleveland. I do have Minnesota as one of my 2 wildcard teams in the AL. So, yeah. And then we have the NL Central. So we'll start off with the Chicago Cubs, who added outfielder Joc Pederson, starting pitcher Jake Arrieta, relief pitcher Brandon Workman, and starting pitcher Shelby Miller. And then they did lose starting pitcher John Lester, outfielder Albert Almora Jr., and outfielder Kyle Schwarber. It's essentially like they gave away Schwarber for Pederson. Both are streaky platoon bats. You can't go wrong with it. Pederson's a little cheaper than Schwarber, so I guess the Cubs saved some money. Almora, big-time bust for the team. At least he made it to the big leagues. Lester was done at that point. John Lester wasn't the player he was a few years back, so... And then the guys they signed, they're just trying to get some help in the big league level. There's not a lot of talent there with Arrieta, Miller, or Workman at this stage in their careers. Cincinnati Reds. So the Reds signed relief pitcher Sean Doolittle and second baseman D. Strange Gordon, both to minor league deals. They really had a quiet offseason, but they did trade away relief pitcher Rafael Iglesias, and then they lost 3 guys to free agency, and starting pitcher Trevor Bauer, relief pitcher Archie Bradley, and second baseman Freddie Galvis. Big name, of course, is Trevor Bauer. They traded a couple decent players to get Bauer. Now here they are. He walks via free agency. He did get them a Cy Young award, but what does the Cy Young matter if the guy's gone? So Archie Bradley, I keep forgetting that Archie Bradley ended the season in Cincinnati, but he didn't do much for them. And Galvis, okay. Iglesias will be missed, but they can easily have another closer come up. If you're not a top contender, you don't need an elite closer. And the Angels are taking a shot in the dark on him. As for their signings, Doolittle and Strange Gordon probably won't do much for the team. Milwaukee had another extremely quiet offseason. Milwaukee's one of those teams they're happy with what they have, so they basically just added second baseman Kolten Wong And the only loss is possibly Ryan Braun. Ryan Braun's fed up. He basically said he's not going to return to baseball. We have no idea. He could just be talking, But I don't know if Ryan Braun's going to come back. I don't think Ryan Braun's going to come back. I think he's done. I mean, why would he come back? It's a mess for him. I don't think he's going to come back. He's a free agent anyway. And Kolten Wong's just a solid second baseman. Nothing to write home about. Next, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, the Pirates did add third baseman Todd Frazier on a minor league deal. He will be a first baseman as well. And then they did trade away a few players, namely first baseman Josh Bell, starting pitcher Jameson Talon, and starting pitcher Joe Musgrove, all three of whom were traded away in 3 separate deals. And then they also lost starting pitcher Chris Archer via free agency. I'm not going to talk about Archer. I don't want to go into that. So losing Musgrove and Talon and Bell's going to hurt the most. They really sold low on Josh Bell, in my opinion. That was a mistake on their part. They shouldn't have traded him. Same can be said about Jameson Talon, in all honesty. They probably shouldn't have traded him away. He didn't do much. He's coming off Tommy John, so he had a setback, I'm pretty sure, last year. I really don't think they should have traded those guys away. But, yeah, Todd Frazier will probably be competing for that starting first base job. We'll see. Now, they did add a ton of prospects. I think they got like 11 prospects total for those 3 players. So we'll have to see. I don't list the big name. I don't list prospects unless they're big name prospects. So, yeah. Good luck, Pittsburgh. It's another rough year for you. Lastly, we have the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Cardinals made the biggest trade of the offseason when they acquired third baseman Nolan Arenado from Colorado. They also re-signed a pair of veterans in starting pitcher Adam Wainwright and catcher Yadier Molina. Now, they did trade away outfielder Dexter Fowler for next to nothing, as well as pitcher Austin Gomber, who was traded for Nolan Arenado in part, along with second baseman Kolten Wong and utility man Brad Miller. So, Wong and Miller, just a pair of utility guys. Wong's been around for a while, it seems. He seems like he's been around forever for St. Louis, but he hasn't really. It's only been a few years. Miller, good utility bat. Gomber never hit his true potential. He's like the only major league player of note that was traded for Arenado. Dexter Fowler was just a bad contract from the signing, and he was traded for next to nothing. Arenado has a good chance of helping this team. If I'm in the NL Central, I'm scared of this team because you have Goldschmidt at first, Arenado at third. Goldschmidt's nearing the end of his prime, but Arenado is just hitting his, so I'd be terrified. And then Wainwright, Yadier Molina, it wouldn't look right to see them wearing anything but the Cardinals uniforms. Of course, Wainwright did at one point wear a Braves uniform, but that was in the minors. So, yeah. So how do I have this division shaping out? It's really not the strongest one, obviously. St. Louis should run away with this division easily. And then for the second place, it's not a strong division. The Reds really regressed this offseason. But between them and Chicago, I do think that there's going to be a slight edge for Cincinnati. I think they have a few more better pitchers. But I could easily see Chicago and Cincinnati having about the same record. Cincinnati, I do like them a little bit more. Not much, but a little bit more than Chicago. Chicago still has potential. Obviously, they still have Chris Bryant. They still have Javier Baez. They still have Anthony Rizzo. But this team is near the end of their run. Milwaukee, 4th place. Hopefully, Christian Yelich rebounds if you're a Milwaukee fan. Lastly, Pittsburgh. It's going to be a rough year if you're a Pirates fan. So to recap the NL Central, I have St. Louis winning it. Cincinnati coming in second, Chicago right behind them, Milwaukee in 4th, and Pittsburgh in dead last. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good rest of your day.